Do it in the back end. Okay.
Okay.
Now you can start over again.
Let's all become rich and famous by not needing to make money not needing money to make money.
Love it. That's great.
Yeah. A different kind of rich.
Yeah, that's a meta level. That's meta level.
Change like what that icebreaker question even means.
Whoa.
Damn. Yeah.
Hey.
I just
which by the way is the shared purpose that brings us together. In a way.
I'd say so, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Natalie, I'm just curious. I don't know. I always am so curious where people are geographically in the world, and would you mind sharing that with me, with us?
Yes, please.
Of course, yeah. I've spent quite a few meetings today. So this is the flat prairie lands of central Alberta, and so I feel really blessed that we're renting a land, and so the landlord has let us utilize the lawn in any way that we have. But I have noticed recently that, as you can tell, it's a bit of a desert behind me, and this is the result of monoculture and industrial yeah, you get it, industrial farming, and that big complex task of how do you feed a global population. And so yeah, I've been in Alberta, born and raised, and we're at the foothills of the Rocky Mountains, and the prairies pumps out the majority of wheat, canola, mustard, and we have a lot of beef and cattle products as well that mobilize out of here. And really noticing the pressure for smaller, more diverse farms and how they could support the local economies and the local health of the people and nature. So there you go.
There you go. Thank you. Yeah, that's very interesting. That's very cool. Thank you for sharing all that. And
yes, and to add to it, because I have been doing reconciliation as well, it is the land of the Blackfoot Cree people. Traditional First Nation.
Thank you for that acknowledgement. Yeah, much appreciated. And for the work you're doing on the land there.
Yeah, little bits. It's definitely a heart calling to find ways to contribute, and so that all my existence can benefit and contribute back to a positive system for nature. And so yeah, permaculture and all those components have been a passion of mine recently. Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, why don't maybe we can just, kind of consider that Natalie's check-in, unless there's anything else you would like to add, as far as okay, what you're, bringing to the meeting today, in regards to, more about this project or other projects.
The only thing I have to add is that UFHD, they thought they would be able to come next week, and they sent me ahead with the question of what would you require from them in order to get integrated with holistic systems. So yeah, we can get into that later.
Great.
What money?
Riches and fame.
I only take money. That's it.
Yes,
Thank you.
And from your website, the payment for the value of these services is distributed back equitably to professional service experts who then reinvest into shared value pool. I read that to them and they were kind of like, what? So
Well, That's on the website. I definitely want to see that. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Sure, I'll send the page that it came from.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for introducing them to that. It's fantastic. And like I wrote you, I read through the whole UHFD website, and yeah, loved it. And like those principles of design, and how those can work in different systems and different networks. And so, all right, well,
I
yeah,
can say-
why don't we share that.
Let me say something that we might want from them. We want them to come and help us, help them, help the world.
Yeah, I mean,
That's the relationship that we engage with.
I think on the
Help
big
us.
picture, yeah.
Help us help you help the world.
Help us help the world. Help us help the world, and of which we all are a part of. So we're helping ourselves, and while we're helping the world. I think that's
Yeah.
possible.
And if you are with anyone in an elevator, as you say, help me help you, help us.
Well, the help us help you help the world. That's right. It's like we're all trying to help the world. We all need help helping the world, and it's sort of like this is a place that we can help. That help will go
in a different way,
around, get distributed around. Nice.
Yeah. I mean, I would say, Natalie, we could, because I think part of the answer to that question is what Newman and I have, started co-creating, and which is like this outreach and onboarding process. And so, so I think we can, that's a really good question. I think it's very, timely, and it might be good to, to just talk about it as a group a little bit, because there are, some questions specifically around that. I mean, I think that, underneath that sort of, meta, or larger scale answer, as Jeff was speaking to, is like, okay, where might they fall under the community, in the holistic systems community, as far as like, the needs, meaning are there organizational needs they could use help with, or are they, people who are, sort of skilled, professionals who can, join in that way. And so, I think, or they just want to be, sort of contribute, or do we just want to sort of, have some organizational partnerships? So I think that there's, different ways and non-exclusive ways that, single persons or, organizations, we could gain value from, from each other.
So the question is, what does partnership mean? Like, so to me, answering that question is commitment and responsibility. So I make a commitment in a partnership, I make a commitment, and then the commitment is there's just commitment and responsibilities that sort of go. And I feel that it's important to be very forward, like to have those commitments explicit, as opposed to the implicit thing. That's one of the nice things about the sort of smart contract DAO, structure, is that it can be very clear, and our rules more like guidelines. It's coming more like the pirate code. That we can structure the structure is not something to shy away from. That labels and sort of containers of things can be, like boundaries and zones. I feel like this is sort of a permaculture thing. So if we just have kind of a big mix, then we've just got then it might not work out. But I like having clearly defined structure, and one of those could be partnerships. It's like, what does it mean to be a partner? What kind of commitment, what kind of responsibility, and when you make that commitment, what's the reciprocity that is involved there? and in that way, I think that we can push forward, into these fun areas, even though it is a little bit like cringy.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Newman. Right. And what is, Newman and I were talking about yesterday, this sort of word and for lack of a better term, client partners, which, and so, okay, well, what is a client partner and how is that different than a client, in a conventional sense?
So
Interesting
I'll
question.
just add my 2 seeds on that. Yeah, no, the HIFA self-organizing or the smart contracts in a container in a ship allow the people on that ship to kind of like choose who they let on their ship and who they say, hey, I think this other ship's better for you, or maybe you go to this island. But then on the partnership clients. So at the beginning, when I left agency, I said, no more clients, thinking that they are always right. No more clients, just like that demand and pushing down. No more CFOs pushing down on the creatives and the teams. So like, how do we flip it from client relation to collaborative relation? It's a transaction. The collaborator with the money and the need, and then the collaborator with the services and the talent to provide the need. And then we're collaborating. One is providing income into the ecosystem, and the others are helping to provide services, which then will hopefully drive more income. Because then all of the people who are participating in the circle to manage a certain customer, client, partner, then they are more incentivized to put in passion, and the entire rest of the ecosystem that's part of, say, HSC is also going to be supportive and non-competitive, because they know that with these partnerships, these DAO partnerships, that the more effort they put in, push forward, there is the potential for that return. Whereas in the old game, there was not the potential for the return. We it didn't matter whether we were super talented or not. The $50 fee was the $50 fee. It didn't matter what our level was. So we need to like make it so that the $50 fee can still be there, but so can this potential future based upon how much passion we pour in, and it doesn't always work. And so we as the individuals should not have expectation, yet there should be a mechanism for return.
Thank you. Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks, Basil. Yeah, so yeah, I think this is great. Thank you all. We sort of jumped into answering the questions from Natalie, and I'm saying it right. Is it UFHD? Cool. Yeah, and I think that there's more to say there, as far as like, what would, what would the onboarding process, look like? But perhaps we can, perhaps we can dig into that in a little bit. I think, it would be good to actually check in with everybody and say, how do we want to use this meeting? And also hear from Kim, I think, just to see if there's anything she has to say. And Jeff has his hand up. So Jeff, I would love to hear what you'd like to share.
Yeah, actually, I do think that in this exercise, we do have an approach to the business model that we're implementing. And one of the distinctions is that we're co-creators, and we look for other co-creators, and together they have the project. We bring collaborative resources, or resources that we're willing to invest in the projects that we truly want to do. So then we are a network of people willing to contribute, to invest with our contributions of time, ideas, resources, talent, skills, to go into our partner co-creators that have the projects, and they have the objectives, and they have the tasks, and they have the resources that are needed. And what we are breaking through is the condition of you're going to do business. Well, there's going to be a charge, and there's going to be a commitment for a payment. There's going to be, and that we're offering the flexibility is that we're going to align in purpose, and we're going to look into how we can bring what we bring, seeking to together create the synergies that ultimately produce the outcomes of the projects that they have. And from there, those outcomes generate the value exchange with the world that produces the income for all of us, or the returns for all of us. So then we're here to enable other co-creators to realize their potential in bringing things of value to the world in exchange for the world then generating the wealth that we all share. And that's very unique.
Thank you, Jeff. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. As I, go and check in with Kim, I just want to say it's just very joyful, for me to, be in conversations and in collaboration like this, because it's just like that question, I have my thoughts or answers to it, and then like other people here do, and it's the combination of those, that really that co-creation that just feels so powerful. And I just see that happening over and over again, and I'm here listening to Basil, I'm listening to Jeff, I'm like, oh yeah, that's it. Oh, that's it. So that's yeah, just commenting on that. Kim, anything to share on that question or otherwise? Just
What was the question?
well, the question
What does partnership mean? Like the business model that's sort of attracted you here and kind of resonated, those type of things. And of course, you don't have to answer that. I think that's what Rob's saying. And so I can also just do a check-in to let us know.
No, I was just listening to Jeff, and I love everybody's positivity. I'm not there right now, and so I don't really want to rain on the parade. Because I've been doing this co-creation for several years now, and I'm kind of at this pivoting point. So I'm really glad that you all are here, though, to do this and to make this all happen and to co-create. And I just I'm looking forward to working with you all. I'm just at this point right now of executing, and really want to get to the execution part. And that's kind of, these conversations are a little bit difficult for me, and they were when I was in Seeds as well, just because it's really thought-provoking, and maybe I'm not just the thinker that everybody else is, but anyway, that's truth and vulnerability for you.
Thank you.
Greatly
thank you,
appreciate
Kim.
it. And actually, I noticed and observed something from what you're saying, Kimberly, that also is at the level of detail, at the level of reality. What I said sounds very ideal, wonderful, but there's no accountability in that, in the sense that how far are we going to be contributing? How far, how deep, how long do we engage with our partners in co-creating? So then there's got to be, maybe we can offer a way to engage that is different than the expectations up front or things like that, so that we do allow the discovery of the potential synergies. And if we do find these synergies, then it means that it is just by coming together that we empower ourselves to achieve what the project wants to achieve. If those conditions are met, then yes, we engage. But if we don't meet those conditions of creating the synergies that will then enable us to actualize the potential together, then that's not ready for a project to us to engage in. In other words, we need to work at the level of potentiality that can be actualized, not just an idea or possibilities. That's the kind of a distinction that we need to make with this approach. I think it's very important what you said, Kimberly. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Natalie?
I would love to hear more about the projects that you are working with Kimberly, and I'm interested in some of the history, because I am the furthest thing from a bliss bunny. You know, I truly believe in the taking the realistic aspect. I've learned through my own healing processes that when frustration show up, when pain shows up, those are often signals to be like, hey, this area needs attention. So the fact that this topic is great, but I'm not so positive on it, it's like, great, we need to hear that, and we need to shine some attention on it, so that, because yeah, it's no laughing matter at this point. So bring it.
And
Yeah.
likewise, if you feel, I mean, it's just the offer. I think that's what
Exactly.
Natalie's saying.
Yeah.
It's like, this is an
Yeah,
offer,
no,
you know.
thank you. Thank you,
you're
Newman.
also- Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, so, thank you. Yeah, Natalie, I mean, I do feel, this is something that Zoe and I have talked about kind of, individually, is that, I mean, I don't feel like anything, needs to be left out, so like, I don't know that like there is, for me, I don't know that I feel like there is a raining on the parade, it's like, yeah, we're all sharing like where we're at and our realities, and that, I think is where the some of the benefit comes from. And so, yeah, I don't, I appreciate that. And, and if anybody has been, so Newman, thank you. First of all, thank you, Newman, for writing the notes. You jumped on that, which is so helpful. So the, on the meeting notes, which I just put into the chat, which again, thank you, Newman, for working on that. On agenda items, which, sometimes, don't get touched, which is fine, but the first one, that I was thinking about is like talking about the meeting itself, which I think is specifically what Kim is speaking to, and also what Jeff is speaking to. Again, we don't have to do this, but it sounds, I think it's a great question for this group, that, seems like it's up right now. And so like, that's a question I've been, been wondering to myself, so this community meeting, what is like kind of its general purpose? Like when we're showing up, is there a certain expectation of what's going to be happening here? And I think that, and this is a question that we've, sort of been holding, I think, for the last couple of weeks is, I think that there's value to, the meetings where we're coming together and we're doing like the sense making and we're talking and we're coordinating on this, kind of larger level that I think, Jeff is talking about a little better than I am. And that's really beautiful. And I think that there's ways where that is like charging up, everything that we're doing. People are coming in and we're like, putting in ideas and awesome things pop out that might not have. And, we're getting to know each other and being like, oh, okay. Like, these are people who I'm starting to feel like I know and I can trust, and then there's the meetings where I feel like, a lot of my, there's another half of like my energy, that, something I think Kim was speaking to, which is I always want to be like, all right, we got project A, B, C, and D. Who's doing what? What are the roles? What's the freaking timeline? Like let's go, people. Like let's make this, make this happen. And I think that those, meetings are quite important as well. So, but that's really a question that I'd love to hear from everybody on who has any, opinions is like, do we just say this Tuesday, because this Tuesday meeting also is something where, we're thinking about in this onboarding flow about having new folks just drop in, so folks who are reaching out to, they're reaching out to us, having folks come in, and then, this is also a place for them to like meet us and talk about, things. So do we want to have like, like the expectations of this meeting be more, open and kind of free form? Or we could say, okay, well, we're going to be open and free form for an hour. And then, like after that, then we're going to switch over to, more like practical, tactical. And then if we all have those expectations coming in, then we all, understand that, or there could just be a separate meeting, there could be a separate kind of like weekly meeting at another, time or date and time, where we know, and it's a shorter meeting, and could be more like a stand up, and everybody comes in and says, okay, what we're working on, where we're at, bring in action items, yeah. So that's I think that's the topic do moment. So love to hear everybody's thoughts on it, please.
I'm super happy to hear the thoughts on that. I think you framed it up really well, basically going from that that sort of open sense-making discussion into the practical tactical. I think practical tactical I've never heard before. I wrote it down. And it is something to address because there will be new members, and it is, if you get a new member into the practical tactical, it might be a little bit off-putting, and then vice versa. When you get people that are ready to like co-create and are in the like, I'm ready to shoot all the guns. Bad analogy. But they're ready to build. They're like no, I want to bang some hammers. All right. I see Natalie's got a hand up. Oh, mute. Yep.
Got it. Yeah, I recently had a fantastic conversation with a gentleman named Jos, and he was also involved in the seeds community and then branched out into his own nester. And he was talking about the operational heartbeat, the structural heartbeat, and then the kind of like the human connection heartbeat. And he was referencing this because he was saying, if you, like you were saying, if you don't carve space out for that heartbeat, like the community heartbeat, then it finds its way into the structure and the operation and can like derail it. So I like what you said, create a bit of space where people can check in, flow, laugh, or, bring grievances or what needs to come up. And then when people are kind of settled and established in that space, then it's like we can either choose to like, thank you, we acknowledge you have this or don't have this, and then can move into, now it's time to move into the operational heartbeat where we actually need the like mechanisms to start stepping into place. So yeah, defining that those spaces, I think are, they both need some spacing.
Yeah, very cool. I think that we can actually structure the meetings with segments. And those segments are for allowing those heartbeats to manifest. And so we don't necessarily, and as we grow then, so everybody knows that there will be a segment in which you can manifest what you have and whatever those segments, and the onboarding, the whatever brainstorming, and the follow up and follow through, or the projects that we're doing. so we can address the co-creating, the humanizing, and the actual practical work.
And I like that that idea of the humanizing, you know, the heartbeat and the humanizing, because if it's all, you know, just working on the Asana and just reading screens and copying and pasting and brainstorming, you know, it feels like it's just machine work. Like I told someone earlier, I was like, yeah, I just need some mouse work, you know, just clicking and pasting and dragging and, you know, dropping and, you know, like that's mouse work, and not like a mouse, but like a mouse, you know. And but there is, and it is nice to be in that. It is nice to transition through. Again, I think this is a permaculture thing where it's like these transitions matter. Like the boundary zones like can be treated well. So I wonder if it's segments or like individual meetings. I kind of like the idea of like in the previous organization we had a Thursday focus day. It's like no meetings, like I'll get it done Thursday. And it was sort of like a nice time because it was just before the weekend. And then Friday we had like our humanizing, you know, like it was just an open, our Fridays were open, like anything could be discussed, and a lot of times did. So if that became part of our structural heartbeat, I think that would be a good thing, because I feel Kim's, you know, pain in that, like, man, I want to get down to like building the stuff. Yeah, you know, so I'm glad that we're talking about that. Go ahead, Kim.
Yeah, I'm glad I sparked this discussion. Yeah, so many things, and I could spend hours here telling you about experiences, but Yoast was very important to me in Seeds, Natalie. He was, yeah, he's absolutely right. I think that the biggest takeaway I wanted to from what you've just said is I like the idea of having the sensing and the practicality together, because those of us who shy away from the sensing might just go to the practicality meetings and then miss the humanity, which is something that sometimes, especially if we're in a not so great place or a darker place, you know, we really need, and we won't do it just because of where we are. So having the humanity there in all meetings is that absolutely essential. And then if there's a tension, you know, like maybe what I brought up was a tension, I don't know, but I didn't mean for it to be. But, you know, then we acknowledge what the tension is, and then we have a meeting around that tension at a later time, or after, you know, set aside special time to go through that tension. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. And let me try this on for you, because what came up for me was expectations. Like I'm very easygoing. I rarely ever, but if someone moves my cheese, like if I'm expecting something and then I don't get it, that's the one time that is easily, and it comes down to like living in community and someone eats the last pizza slice. And I'm saying, no, have all the pizza you want, but not the last slice. Because I was driving home and I was thinking about that pizza. I was thinking about how good it would taste and how would I heat it up, or would I be too like happy to just eat it cold? And then when I got here and I saw the empty box, or I saw the box and I was so excited, and then I pulled up the box and the first was like, it's too light. And then that wave of disappointment turned into a vicious and ferocious hatred for the person that ate the last slice of pizza. And so that's just a little story. So expectations, I think that the expectations, and that's one of the nice things about the structural heartbeat. Like, it's just, imagine if your heart just randomly beat. No, it has to, there is a system. Or music, your favorite song, and then all of a sudden it's different. It's just, I mean, I'm all for diversity, but there is structure. That we do live in a physical universe until we work on Jeff's the potentiality zone. So yeah. Just to bring that up.
Real quick on the pizza. In Thailand, that'll never happen, because it's just embedded in their culture to like feed the ants, feed the hungry ghost, feed all the animals, feed all the people all the time,
Yeah.
all day long.
I wanted to reflect that in terms of value creation, and the value proposition that we have for others, it is precisely in this humanizing that we're bringing forth here, and that we are delivering the highest value for others to come into. We are becoming a new way for humanity to capitalize human potential in a purposeful, human-centered way. So it is in us always putting our humanity up front and embodying that as a cultural manifestation of how we're working differently and our willingness to cooperate, that the transformation of the way humanity works shows up. And that makes us very attractive for others to want to sponsor us, to want to participate, to want to collaborate. And that is what ultimately becomes something that expands. And this is how culture evolution leads to human evolution. So that's the most important. That is how we're creating value. That is how we're creating wellness in a way that works for all, first for us. Because you can think of it, when you love what you're doing, you'll never spend a day working. And one of the most important things to love what you're doing is when you're doing it with the people you love. I love you guys.
Where's my heart emoji? Here it is.
Yeah. That's a good, that's a good note line. Yeah, thank you, Jeff. And everyone, it's, yeah, this is really helpful. Yeah, because right, and talking about all these levels, I think we're just talking about these, it feels like we're talking about these levels that, are happening, within what we're co-creating, within the organization, the DAO, like the different levels. And now we're sort of, centering it on like in one particular arena, okay, in a meeting, and so then what are the different, levels that we're using, and what is the, mindset, behind it all. And so I think that's very cool. Anybody else have thoughts about the meeting and what they think might work? Zoe, anything, as far as like just, thoughts around it, or like, specifics, have one meeting with different segments, or you like the idea better having, multiple meetings? I guess at least for now,
And Rob, are you aware of what operational components you need or have desired to check off?
You mean as far as like now present time? Like
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I have a whole list.
I bet. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I have a drawing, or I have a mural I can show you guys I just built just a minute ago. Well, I did that over there yesterday, but shall I share screen?
Please. Yeah.
Sure.
Can I share screen?
Oh, let me, yeah, sorry. I think I need to manually. Okay, go for it.
All right, so just a quick rundown here. All right, so you can see the mural, right?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so this is, I've been working for a while on these regenerative like production engines that are like with for-profit plus foundational engine for driving, driving monies through the system. So what we have right now is we have our core client. This is our media network build, our decentralized media network build. It's still rather centralized at the moment, but it's being done by a decentralized team. So we're halfway there. But the main thing here is this engine here is our collaborative purpose ops, HR and accounting system. And so what I've sort of got here is HSC for sales, account, project management, ecosystem, HR, onboarding and matching. And then you also handle like product sales for the platform, for the network, for separate profits coming in just to HSC. Then there's like collab marketing circles, coordination circles. I guess, yeah. And then the EPs over here, the creatives, the studio, and then the producers and editors. Oops, sorry. Let's add the editor circle, but editors, writers. So then we have all these needs, right, for this engine to flow, and then Hypha provides like, you know, some of our core tech and like FinOps tech, and then Nestor on organizational and auditing, human auditing, and then we got these two systems that are producing products and services that are going out into the Better Worlds network for distro after sales commissions to reach a large audience and then generate brand sales. And then it goes back into the US treasuries. And then we get cash donations and donors all the time. And we have grants coming in and sales coming in. And then we have a crypto treasury. And then here's where we put like the FinFlow exchange from cash to crypto. And we still hold that as a 501c3 treasury. Then we have a Better Worlds DAO that we spin up to govern that for the Better Worlds D Studio Network OPEX treasury, multi-sig by Hypha vetted treasurers. And then we have a separate sort of cash payroll system, you know, US based for all of that W-2 tax stuff. And then all of this is to support all the seeds and people receiving economy via this movement, via service contribution in this operation. And then additional ecosystem grants can come in too. But yeah, this is just like the core engine right here that we want to prove this loosely arranged, self-organizing DAO ecosystem can govern a very complex global media network to serve billions of people. So yeah, this is season 2, and we'll evolve this, and that's the beauty of it, of this new way, is we're constantly evolving. This is evolved out of other, but this is the newest, latest. I just sent this to Mark Epstein for potential Hypha FinFlow review because we want them to handle this stuff here and secure that stuff. Anyway, that's
Thank you.
That's where I'm at for like, and that's for the needs. So if you go down here, you see the needs, obviously all these needs just in general for holistic systems of what it does. But for this particular client account product, you know, we would set up a special Better Worlds product sales circle, marketing circle, coordination circle, just for this network, which I can show you a preview on where it's at.
Thanks. What do you want to, I feel like before maybe we jump into that, do you have any thoughts on the meeting like question? Because I also wanted to hear from Zoe on that, and then maybe we can, you know, kind of close that circuit.
Sure. Yeah, I just wanted to throw that out.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's great. And, you know, and I was talking with Basil for a while on, you know, a couple of days ago. And yeah, it's amazing. And I'm so glad that you are concocting that and have been for the last, you know, years, because it's a lot, you know, it's a lot to run all of that through, you know, the current present time financial systems, and then you know, what we're trying to co-create, you know, with the digital currencies. And yeah,
it's just you know, making sure that all of the fiat and the securities and the people are as safe as humanly, you know, as we can design. And then we have this like experimental stuff that we're experimenting with to like make it even more effective, more efficient, more optimized, more healthy, and we'll get there. Yeah, thank you. No, well, let's look at Better Worlds after so just closing up on the kind of meeting conversation. Zoe, I just wanted to check in with you, your thoughts.
I like the idea for now of trying to fit everything in one meeting day per week. Until maybe at some point, if there are too many people onboarding, which would be a good thing, so many, fresh faces, then maybe we should spend more time talking to people and getting to know them. But since, we all kind of know each other a bit, I feel like it's possible to, get icebreakers and check-ins done and hang out a bit in the first 40 minutes to an hour, I guess. And then have like a more structured, let's update each other on what tasks we're accomplishing and what the goals are and where the problems are. And I think we could achieve a lot in 2 hours if we structure it. But yeah, if it grows, I'm open to making it 2 days as well. And that flow chart was awesome, Basil. I love flow charts.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I learned the mural, when that got brought into my life really early on, when I was still in the jungle, that just like helped me like really fast like synthesize that very nature-based organizational solutions in like a flowcharts.
Yeah.
I have like issues visualizing things, so I really appreciated that. Yeah, gotta draw everything.
Yeah, totally. I know without like mind maps and flowcharts, I don't know where. Well, actually, I used to just make my own, on paper, and then I was like, oh, there's, software to be able to do this. Yeah, so helpful. Especially with, these non-linear systems. So cool. Thank you for everybody, just as far as like the meetings, that feels so helpful to me. It's just, it's been something, a question that I've been holding, for a little while here. So it sounds like, to me that it sounds like the consensus, I forget which one is like everybody agrees. I don't know. I think it went to,
That's
but it
consensus.
sounds,
Consent is like consensus is everybody or nobody disagrees.
yeah.
And consent is like some disagreement, but overall majority consent.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, then it sounds like at least there's consent, here to take this Tuesday meeting and kind of structure it, within these 3 heartbeats that Just was talking about. And see how that works, and try that over the next few weeks, and then at a certain point, right, if we just got so many people flooding in that we need to have different meetings, then oh, bye Kim.
Yeah.
Bye. Thank you, Kim, appreciate it. Yeah, then we can restructure, but and also there's a lot of like I know that we are having kind of like separate meetings with each project or circles, that kind of thing. So it's not like this is the only meeting where we're looking to get things done. So does that feel like the consent or consensus?
What time? One thing to kind of add, because time. Wu-Tang Clan said that cash moves everything around him. Time moves everything around me. And so I wonder how much time block should I allow for this meeting? Because that's one that's like, it's just like, okay, yeah, how much time? That's the one that I'm curious about now.
Yeah. I mean, I think realistically, if we want to do all of that, I think we need 2 hours. I think if we say an hour and a half, like, I don't know that's realistic. Like we've already, gone an hour here.
One of the things, we tried this one on for size, and this is a meeting, and I kind of have some, there's something that I kind of want I was at church this weekend. They had their big Easter. Orthodox Christians had their Easter celebration this year, this last Saturday night. And it's a super, super long thing. And I was always told by my very strict dad, loving, happy, good dad, he was like, you got to show up right then and you got to stay till the end, and I was like, Dad, it's 4 hours long, And then as I got older, I was like, people just roll in for like 1 or 2 parts and then they leave and they're hanging out in the parking lot smoking and sort of like dicking around, and the kids are sitting around, and then they come back in for like special parts of the service, and then they leave again, and then they come back in. Because the 2 hours would be kind of fun if you just like kind of come in and go. I wonder, is that like the drop in, drop out type of thing? Come late, stay, whatever. Is that agreeable? Is that something that like this? I feel like this is something the community could do.
Yeah, I mean,
So what you're saying is, sorry, go ahead, bro.
Oh, I mean, that's another, good question that I've had, open question. I mean, for me, it's, I don't know, I have a whole, like, I don't know, feel, sort of, I was like buried alive in a past life or something, so I don't like feeling trapped.
Yeah, totally.
And so, for me, having that open spaciousness, where somebody can come in and, I like to drop in and drop out. I really like that.
Yeah.
I mean, you
I
do
do
have the sort of concern there that can get so spacious that like, we never really, kind of like accomplish things as a group. But I don't know. I think if people really want to be here, then they're gonna be here. And if they don't want to be here, then, it's not, like what, I don't know that we need to require anything.
What is, okay, let me ask a different question. What is the objective of this meeting? And what are the key results? What can we measure coming out of it?
Yeah. I can speak to that, but Jeff, you had something you wanted to share.
Yeah, there wasn't, but the objective was actually to coordinate what we are becoming by coming together. And here we're having, the question would be, what are the objectives of each of the 3 segments that we're going to have? So that's how we're right now. We're just organizing. We're organizing ourselves, and we're coming together to pretty much gives us the feedback and to keep us in the same page, right? And to that, I say that, as I said before, the culture that we are embodying is one of the most attractive things, the more valuable things that we can actually construct. And it's something it's not about doing, it's about being and becoming. So then we got to consider, if people are allowed to come in and go out, then there's not necessarily a commitment to be part of it. But I understand that might be, it's up to everybody, but not necessarily to, again, it's a matter of having certain rules of culture, or what are we valuing, and let's say somebody just wants to come and check in and say what they want, and they don't want to listen. They don't have time to listen to anybody else, and that I'm afraid that will have a tendency to break the culture. It's an observation that I have.
Yeah. I know. And there's something where I think that they're, I think that's there's something we, can monitor as a group, and it reminds me of like, so I used to like go to a lot of like, retreats and, Buddhist, meditation retreats and monasteries, and, and they never said that you could, like, they're like the meditation, it's a sitting meditation, it's a half hour, or 45 minutes. And nobody ever said like that you could get up and leave. And so there was this sort of like, so most people didn't, but after a while I started to like do that. And then nobody could, like, it was sort of like, you know, something that was unsaid, you know, but it was also like allowed. So I don't know if that's, you know,
I have an
something
adjustment,
in
yeah,
there.
with what you said, Rob. I have kind of an adjustment what I said before, and I think that it just has to be stipulated. It just has to be spoken to, and maybe what we can say is that of this meeting for now, of the 3 segments, is the third one that is essential, the most essential. So if you can only come for one of the segments, make sure you come to this one, the third one. That it could be how we structure and we recognize the value of being together. I think that's very important.
Thank you.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
dip
I don't
out,
actually after.
y'all, but have a good day, okay?
All right, thanks, Zoe.
Bye,
Talk
Zoe.
soon.
Anything before you leave? Any-
Oh man, it could, okay. Yeah, okay, sure. So I think the objectives of the meeting are definitely, we've agreed for onboarding to create a friendly space for people and also a place for all of us to just touch base and, you know, keep updated. So I think with the existing structure or the one that we're heading toward, we'll achieve that, and I am positive. And on top of that, we could meet later in the, like, you know, Rob and I meet all the time for our work tasks, and I'm sure Basil and Rob meet for work tasks and all of that. So yeah, I think that's a great structure. Yeah. And you guys could expand upon it and find ways to embellish it.
Cool. Thanks, Zoe.
Thank you, Zoe.
Take care, y'all.
Bye.
Cool.
Well, the way we did it, the way it's done in Haifa and still done in Haifa is like, you know, there's people that have like roles to be like lamplighters of circles. And then there's facilitators that get assigned, or people over time that are assigned to like manage the meeting, you know, and then certain people have to show up, you know, like anchor circle meetings, and then you have product circle meetings for those people, developer circle, coordinator circle, project management circle, et cetera, account handling. And then we just sort of start to design those sort of root circles. So you have the seed circle, and then sort of develop that sort of sociocratic pattern. You know, we're ready. You know, it's just like we want to make sure that we have need and budget. And with need and budget, then we can like move much faster and move the people and move the products, move the audience.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you. So, yeah, that's really helpful. That's really helpful. And
Yeah,
yeah.
I just think that kind of something that what Basil just said makes me think that one of the core services that we have that I will think will be very strong as part of our value proposition is to have somebody or bring somebody to be part of HSC that has the capacity, the contacts, or resources to get funding. Because getting funding, if we can have access to that, which we ought to, absolutely, it's a matter of taking a project, right, from idea to proposal and matching this with source of funding. And that is tremendous service that we can, because the resources out there. So we're just bringing people with ideas that might not have the resources to put a great presentation together, that might not have the expertise, that might need some team people, you know, to create a team for which we can also come in and present ourselves as part of the teams, and then have. So we actually the budget that Basil was talking about is something that we can create as part of helping the projects package completely the proposal that needs funding. So that is a service that is one of the most important things that we can actually the core services that ought to be in our value proposition.
Yeah, I think that's an amazingly important service. And, you know, and I think, you know, that's what we're trying to do right now, you know, for holistic systems. You know, is
exactly,
you know,
exactly.
yeah, break, you know, bake up some of those proposals and get, you know, funding into here. And
Right.
so it's, yeah. So if there's other folks who can help with doing that, that's amazing. And I think that's, if we're able to accomplish that, you know, then we're able to then offer it, you know, to other folks as a service.
Right. So
Really well.
in terms of the strategy for us, seeking those people with those capacities and those contacts is part of this. I would recommend that's got to be part of our strategy to gather and invite and to partner with somebody who has those, who's already playing those roles.
Oh yeah, I'd like 10 of those people. Yeah, for sure.
Sure.
For sure.
And those are,
I'd bump you all out of the way to get to one of those. No, I'm just,
I would trade 2 of us for one of those. No. Come on. But it is, here, but this is in all seriousness, like developing those skills. So like if we get someone in that that is a grant writer, that understands the funding gathering sort of thing, and that also has the skill share and collaborative thing, then that's something that possibly, that would be a value to me personally, to sort of work alongside someone like that and learn these skills. And like Basil just talked about, like all of those like lamplighters and facilitators and ankle circle meetings and sociocratic circles, like that's the kind of thing that I want to learn. And yes, it has, like there's reasons to learn it, but one, I just think it would be cool as part of something new and different and better. And I really just enjoy learning things shoulder to shoulder with folks. So like getting a diverse group of folks building things together is in itself a value to me.
Yes. Yeah, and I would like to second that, in that education is a significant portion of the phase that we're in. Like this is also the time to cast the dreams and the wishes, particularly with the new moon and lunar eclipse that's coming tomorrow. Yeah, very good time to plant these wishes. But I think, Jeff, it is like, yes, it would be great to have those people on board, and yet I believe like Newman was saying, we may need to become some of those people as well. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and actually what I meant is not necessarily to, I mean, yeah, of course we can become, but basically what I'm saying, we can become by bringing somebody who's passionate about it, whether they know it or not. Yeah, they're passionate about it. Therefore, they're fulfilling what their soul calls for. And it's not necessarily the importance that is that they are already an expert, but we can count on becoming an expert and providing that is how we can help that person. And by helping that person, in return, we get somebody who's going to be passionate for us in that.
So what ponds are those people playing in currently? Right?
The role that they're playing?
Or like what ecosystem and ponds are those passionate people, you know, already in? And
you know, that is very interesting, because they're not experts, but that's what we offer. We offer the opportunity for you to come in, and we want some, and again, this is part of the benefit of our proposition. You don't have to be an expert, you just have to be passionate about it. We be passionate about it, and we together, we will we will co-realize whatever resources we will create opportunities for that person to exercise the learning practices that, but we complement. So again, this is what co-realizing. This is what I mean by co-realizing, is that it's a potential that needs to be manifested, but it's not an expert yet. It's not ready yet. So we bring that into this group, and you provide opportunities for people to learn by doing.
Right.
Hey, I'm telling you, I'm not kidding about, like, that could be my superpower, where I guess people's middle names on the new moon. And then I roll in. I can't do it on any other time, but during the new moon, like, I'm connected up enough. And that's the co-realizing. Now that's kind of silly, but I totally believe not that I have that, but there is a latent superpower in me that has just not been, like, fermented yet, because I haven't been in the right soil. Now, that could be my own hubris in the humus. But I feel what you're saying, Jeff, and I really think that if there is, because organizational structure up until this point, the ones that I've been in, like, really tamp that down. Like, this is not about, like, collaboration, and this is about, like, figuring out what the teacher wants. So if we can just flip that, if we can, the people making power of organization structure, and because we've gotten the brunt of it, we've gotten the backside of it, but if we could just somehow flip it and get it to where it edifies instead of the decomposes or pushes us down, it kind of lifts us up.
Yeah.
I love the idea of, because I've heard of co-creating and I've heard of, but co-realizing is an interesting wordplay.
That's Jeff's thing, man.
Yeah, think of co-realizing as a transition from reacting to the reality that has just passed. That's how we're living. To engaging and imagining in alignment with what wants to emerge, and that's what we're co-realizing. And so in a way, our model delivers this feature as another breakthrough in evolving the way humanity works. So again, that you don't have to be an expert to be able to get this role. You just have to be passionate and be willing to learn, and we will provide the opportunities. So then what we're doing in terms of transforming the economy, from organizing ourselves to provide products and services that people need, to organizing ourselves to provide roles for people to fulfill the potential they already have.
Beautiful. Yeah. And that's right. And I love that. I mean, that's part of what, I mean, even as we're talking about it now, I can viscerally feel just the joy, of working to facilitate that and co-facilitate that, and the joy that I feel in feeling that like I'm seeing, I can envision and see the mechanisms for how that can work, like, to me, that's part of what's, part of the vision, and what I think we're co-creating here. And Basil has been working on this and has brought in a lot of big insights around it as well. But, like, how do we facilitate that happening, so that way there is there is value exchange happening, and people can come in at different levels. And right, and I think that's what Natalie, I like the way you phrased it. You're like, what pond do we find them in? And so I think what you're speaking to there is just it's like when we it's like just the next step. So we say, okay, if we feel like we're centered in what we're doing there, okay, then where do we what ponds or what lakes or streams do we find those folks in? And I think that is specifically what Newman and I now are, and Nadine are directly addressing, and working on this outreach and onboarding flow. And so I think that's a big thing. I think it's going along swimmingly, and and the idea is for then everybody to be able to, even if one person or two people have that outreach or onboarder role, the idea is to set it up in a way where everybody's doing that, pretty naturally, right? Like Natalie says, okay, well, I have this organization we're working with, and
yeah, this is let's see, am I okay? This is actually complementing or extending a little bit. Somebody who wants to change jobs and wants to totally engage in this role of finding how to fund purposeful projects. If they don't have those capacities, they will have to go get them. They will have to be educated. They're not going to get a job in the market out there. They will have to somehow, and it takes a lot, and it takes, and then once they develop those roles, okay, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna say it like this. I was shaking too much there. Basically, the idea would be that within the context of being a partner with us, they will get some of us to sell projects that will require capacities for getting funding, and that in a way becomes the opportunity for this person to learn to become an expert in getting funding. And then we package the presentations. In other words, he will be part of a team that recognizes that he is not an expert yet, but he will become an expert because he has demonstrated the passion for it. So then, but he gets a team of support in how to bring his potential in synergy with some of us to be able to attract that potential request from partners. You see, in a way, we are becoming the context for transition from the people who want to shift jobs or people who want to learn by doing. It's a kind of a very different way to deliver the value of apprenticeship.
Right. And I think that what I've been seeing more and more, and again, this is, some of these conversations I'm having with Basil, that's so cool, is that this works on, in sort of both, sides of these main groups, right? Because we're talking about somebody can come in and learn how to provide a service, but there's going to be, client partners who come in who aren't going to, have the budget to just like come in and pay for services in a way, that's going to be enough, for the people who are providing those to get their needs met. So then, what do you do? You say, okay, well, we've got options. There's a person who's really passionate about this. They don't have, as much experience, but they can come in and help and do a bunch of hours for you at a much lower rate, but we're still going to be, like mentoring them and, in the bigger picture. So it's like you're creating opportunities on both sides. And that's cool.
Yeah, and then on the other side, this is something that people who are passionate about it and who want to learn something do not necessarily have to go pay for the training, because they will have the opportunity to develop their capacity on a live project.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's how I've learned most everything. I'm not like a trained business person or digital expert, I just
or an extension of this. We get somebody who's very expert in getting funding, but then we get apprenticeships who will learn with this person, who will then cater to other projects, and that's how we expand every capacity that we have.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And by having value coming in, then we have the wherewithal, to have people who are more skilled be able to spend, some time, mentoring those, with less experience and expertise in a particular skill set, or men maybe vice versa. I love it all. So we're at 4:30. So do we want to ease into some more into the operational heartbeat now? Yeah, what are folks' thoughts on that? Is there anything, sort of else just kind of popping in as far as like the structural heartbeat, the human heartbeat?
I was looking around for the pumpkin emoji because I'm getting this time of day. It's 4:30 where I am, and it's sort of like I do get a little tired and sort of like,
Me
oh,
too.
need the
Me three.
yeah. I do want to talk about this project that I'm doing with the onboarding workflow, and and it's interesting because I've really sort of shifted based on this conversation, like how it might be structured. But I am, as somebody that's newer to the group, I think I have a unique opportunity to sort of see it and try to funnel those experiences into some type of document that can be used, further on. So that's going to be my focus, and I hope to have something developed and product made into a product in the next couple of weeks.
Also, if both Rob and Newman, like, we can start to automate our Zooms, more. We have 4 accounts still on our like slightly upgraded Zoom operating system, for sort of just like to set up like a persistent link that you can always use. We can make a tiny CC for it, so it's like the onboarding link. So then Newman, you can put that out in your Calendly and everything. So anytime that you need in your workflow the communication between the person, the people, then we can like set that up so that that automatically goes into a repository, AI transcription, and then a digest, and then and all of your sort of detailed onboarding checks and things and notes and stuff. That's, I guess, your manual entry, but then we collect that for each person, potentially into the Airtable. So like the onboarding, the video would be going into their Airtable card as well, and the transcript, the full transcript, and the digest. It's like boom, boom, boom.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Basil, maybe we need to, talk about how to get that set up for Holistic Systems, in one of those accounts.
Yeah, let's just make a list of like the needs. So like you have this community meeting, and then we have a time, and then any other, and then based upon how you want to set up your structure, Newman, for like 20-minute calls or whatever, just let us know like how you want to like handle and how much time block per person you want. And then based upon that, we can like build the automations and
Okay.
services.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to sort of do that. And yeah, if there's like just a standing room that I can open and conduct those onboarding meetings, that would be beneficial. And if it had AI transcribing video, video capture, transcription, and digest, that would be really ideal.
Right.
Then we'd have a de facto what happened. Because a plan, I can plan out. It's like, oh, I'm going to talk about this and talk about that, and then sometimes it doesn't happen that way.
Yeah.
So the other thing is, I was hoping that part of your exercise, your warm-up exercise, is that you would like re-onboard all the people that are already HIFA trained ecosystem members that are in our group, like me and Kim and Nyla and others, Gian and Troy, just so that used people, all of those people, like you can like sort of think of like your first batch. One of your first batches can include those people.
Yeah, definitely.
Then it might help with a lot of insights too.
Yeah. Yeah. absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, we could, can, maybe I'll just go through them. There are a few kind of items. I mean, we could walk you through what we're talking about for, like the roles and onboarding. There's one thing, I'm wondering if anybody would be willing, or more than one person, for a short kind of like assignment to look over the role archetypes I've created, because let me find these here. They're just, oh yeah. So basically, I did a bunch of work and I created, came up with like 7 role archetypes. This is just in the Notion. And, I wanted, they're about ready, I think, and I'd love to drop them, actually, put them all, onto the DAO platform, have proposals, and then we can, vote on them. So I came up with 7, but I just, there's just a couple little questions that I have. And before I do that, I don't know, I just would love somebody to read through them and be like, oh, hey, I think maybe this wants to go here, this wants to go here, or like, hey, you've got like two different archetypes that, I want to, 2 different ones that might, actually just be one. I think before I start, popping them up on the actual DAO platform, I would just love to have somebody, at least another one person who's not me, look at them. So I'm going to drop it into the chat. So anybody who feels like that might be an assignment that they'd like, and again, this doesn't have to be deep, deep revision.
I'm happy to, yeah, take a look over them.
Cool.
It
Thank
looks
you.
great right now. We can constantly evolve this stuff, but as far as like a MVP, it's really good.
Thanks. Thank you. Yeah, so I just dropped that into the chat. Yeah, it's almost like, I mean, I did a bunch of work on them, I mean, I do like them. And I think that, there are, I think it's almost just like before I start dropping them in and then connecting them with actual roles. Yeah, I just love for, somebody to just look them over.
Yeah,
So
Rob,
thanks, Matt.
if I finish what I need to finish before our meeting tomorrow, I will go look into it as well.
Okay.
Oh, also send to Yoast, since that's his, yeah, send to Yoast. Oh, and Julio, we need to send to Julio, or go into the Nestor
Okay.
Discord server and post it to Julio in there somewhere.
Julio, how long?
Yeah. And then he kind of helped design the original archetypes that Hive has been using to date.
Yeah. Yeah, I had
Yeah,
a meeting with
cool.
him yesterday.
All right.
You're
Thank
the
you.
connector, storyteller. Yeah.
Yeah. So, another thing, just to, this is gonna, we're gonna start popping these things out to a lot of groups, but right now, if there's anyone knows who does like, analytics, mostly for marketing, analytics, SEO, that kind of thing.
You need to meet Tucker. You need to meet Tucker, who is leading he's like yeah. So you need to meet Tucker. Like he's part of Region Garden.
Yeah, well, we met him briefly when we were on that meeting with John at one time, but okay,
but find somebody who's like experienced, but as far as like a young and doer, like active, who's like leading on that Restorathon side right now. Just like we should all be doing this together as an ecosystem. So we want like his Catalyst Collective to be, because he's got a group of people, Catalyst Collective. So we kind of need that. We need to have like these like relationships with collectives.
Yeah. Great.
So all into that ecosystem picture for the database. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Well, why don't I, it might just help to like show where we're at as far as like roles and, assignments, things like that. And then, y'all can kind of chime in if, let me see, because, you know, I have like, the idea is I have a, you know, there's like a big, you know, list of things, you know, but some of it now is really like creating these base, you know, these base structures. So really what the idea that we want to have is, you know, so this is a, you know, like just an Airtable list of the roles, you know, sort of the available roles, and we're going to have, you know, we're creating, you know, this as an outward facing table. It's going to be the same ones that, you know, are listed on Nestor, which we have, you know, fairly filled out. And so what, you know, Nadim is working on, and I'm working on with him, is basically filling out all of these roles as far as, you know, what are the accountabilities, the purpose. You know, this is, we're doing it, you know, fairly fast. We're also using some Chat GPT. So these are things that like do want to get, you know, looked over and can be changed, you know, and refined over time. But right now it feels very, yeah, it feels, you know, like very timely that we want to get this done. So then, you know, and the reason that we're setting it up this way, this was something, you know, we're thinking about, but I like GaiaNet, you know, has it this way in this outward facing sort of structure, the same thing with Airtable. And so a person can just kind of come and look at the roles. So this is something that we want like to be, you know, be available as a, you know, as a sort of top level resource for people who are coming in, you know, to really just be able to, you know, so that way we don't have to be like, oh, well, we're doing this and we're doing that. And yeah, you know, so it's just like, hey, these are roles that we have, you know, and then a person can, you know, check on them, you know, read it over, and then they can apply, and, you know, you'll go to a form. So, you know, so we're doing that. And the second thing, you know, that's going to be a little bit more, more internal, but are the, we're sort of working on this, but like the quests, you know, or the assignments. So these are like specific, you know, projects that we're doing, and we're going to have this, it's still going to be open to the general public, the open project. So that way people can come and they can look and see, you know, we're starting, it's, you know, it takes time, but we're starting to create these quests, you know, which means, all right, we had a long conversation there, you know, which means that we're creating the user story, you know, so what's the definitions? What does it mean when it's done? What are the requirements? With the idea that people can, you know, people who are onboarded to a certain level, you know, can come in and look at the quest. So it's not just the roles, but they can sit and be like, oh, I want to do that, or I'm into, you know, services and packages. The way that we're, you know, we're going to sort of organize it in a particular way. This might not all be user facing, but really the idea is to have, you know, Notion be like documentation for the most part that is general public facing, you know, so, you know, people can see what's going on. A lot of that is going to be, you know, just for us to work on, you know, like the HSC folks, and then other people can see it, because the idea is we want to be transparent with anything that we can be transparent about. That's at least, you know, the idea. And so, but then what happens is, all right, I'll show you this. Now this is like the first, as far as flowcharts, I'm glad that I can at least compete with.
So
Basil,
so in this
yeah.
kind of public facing transparency to kind of radically shift everything, which I'm support of, but I feel like we need to have like a document about like what within the operation is kept secret.
I see. So have something that says,
A
hey, this is
disclaimer,
what,
like this is what we keep secret, like people's like private information, you know, we you
Right.
know, or we do our best to you know, and you know, like for film production cycles, like scripts and stuff, you might, you know, and for you know, for products and stuff, you might want to surprise people. You don't want people to know until it's out. So you
Right.
have to keep those in black, just like we black box certain productions or black box things, but that's just, people are aware. That's how used, that's what he told me to do. You know, that's what they were guiding, like, how do we create this black box of a studio, like D studio, how do we create this black box that allows all this creative stuff to happen and all that sort of creative chaos, but held within that black box. And then, and then, so yeah, so that was, you know, because there's a lot of like TV and film and network productions that we would do that you can't talk about. Advertising, it has to, you know, they demand like NDAs, which is a whole nother thing, but we'll have shells, we'll have legal entities to handle that, and then we'll be doing the work on contract. But yeah.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's a really good, I like that idea of not just, you know, having this stuff that's internal or more secret, but actually like having a document that says, you know, these are the things that we keep internal. That's very cool. This is like a very detailed flow chart of like the, you know, the outreach and onboarding process. So I think we'll come up with something, you know, this this has like every little step, you know, it's just to help me. So, but I think, you know, to speak to that, you know, so really this is like the main entry points where people can find, sorry, yeah, I don't need to run you through it all. It's probably, this is like the main entry points, you know, where people can find us and where like, you know, where anybody can outreach. And then this is just, you know, kind of a bunch of stuff basically saying like, we write people back. You know, they come to the meeting. These are the kind of options. And then, you know, at a certain point that says, okay, I'm interested, we want to know more. Then they get to kind of what the middle of the funnel would be, you know, which is, you know, we send off information or we start to have a conversation. They fill out the idea, the current idea that crystallized in my head this morning. So, you know, it's basically to have like 2 forms that people could fill out. They can fill out like a role application, which is from that Airtable, you know, that I showed you, that purple one. And then this is something that we already have created, which is like a roster, like a profile form, you know, which I can show you. But I think that's kind of like the ways where I think we would switch from, you know, just outreach to onboarding. And then, you know, also this is like the presentation that Newman was talking about, you know, so like however kind of people get to us, you know, eventually we either like want to have a meeting or we want to, you know, or they're going to fill out, you know, a form. And then, right, this gets to what we're talking about as far as there's probably like 3 different levels that people can come in at. And right, this is all team members. So this isn't client partners. Just you know, so somebody might come in, you know, at this roster level, meaning like, hey, I'm interested, I love what you're doing, but like, you know, either like I don't have, you know, the extra time now, or I just need fiat money. So they're on the roster, which means you know, we add them to that, you know, to like this roster view. These are just the different you know, pathways that we would, you know, we would put them on. And then we keep in touch with those folks. And so that, yeah, so that's number 1. And then number 2 is like this kind of contributor level, which is, so everything in this kind of roster view, but the contributors are folks like Newman, for example, you know, who's like, okay, I want to be in this role. I'm going to be in this quest. And some of it is going to be for deferred tokens. And then, you know, hopefully some fiat money comes in. So basically, you know, this level is where, right, I knew there was a reason I was showing you this. This level is right here, I think, where we start to go like internal and things that we keep more secret from, you know, from the general public. So once somebody is like doing a project, you know, then, you know, we'll pop them into, you know, Nestor is outward facing, but we'll pop them into Asana You know, I don't know. Actually, it feels like asana is.
So to level up to contributor, the KYC coming into that, anybody who's coming in with the potential for gaining compensation, remuneration, they have to be like KYC'd, qualitatively.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I think anybody who's coming in, for like on that contributor level, is we're not doing it right. We're starting to, but to in one way or another to say, okay, we're going to put a proposal in, so Newman's going to jump in and work in this role. Okay, we're going to put a proposal in, and we're going to, put in how long he's going to be in that role, right? We haven't, we're not doing it all, sort of like to the T at this point. But I think that's the idea. And as soon as somebody on the roster is an analytics, expert, and then we call them, we say, hey, there's this job, then they're then going to jump into the contributor level. There's like this third level, which at least now we're calling kind of core team member level, which I was also sort of thinking about as like co-founder or partner, but which is like core team member, which is, like you're really investing most of your time in this, and you're like, you're putting in more risk, but you're, like, hopefully you're getting some extra reward. I mean, not in this sort of conventional hierarchical way, but like, this is somebody who's coming in who's really making, larger commitments. Like right now, like I consider myself a core team member, and I don't know if anybody else is at this point, but I think it's
I'd be
just helpful
curious to hear as well, because I feel like I'm in the middle funnel, is kind of like the stage where I'm at, just starting to understand how things are connected.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah, I think maybe you are. Thanks for being an example. Yeah, I think maybe you are in that middle funnel. You're coming to the meetings. We've been in contact, like connect and taking actions, but we haven't really established like, are you
Where I fit.
like, do you have a skill set? Do you want to like
What you wanna do.
certain jobs? Are you a client partner? Are you? Yeah. So that's
What you want to do, what you love to do, really.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And I'd be curious to hear what the other three people, where they see themselves.
Yeah.
I'll pick up the question. There's a few, I really am in the zone of building, echoing what Kimberly said. Like, I really want a community of action. Like, I want to get down to like, banging nails and, copy pasting and, like that's where for me the action is the juice, meaning that I really want to do this stuff. And I see it, one, like I talked about before, is it's like, because I feel like I have a unique thing about the onboarding piece. And it seems like as I come in, it's like I get ideas about onboarding, and I'm like, I want to at least do that opening quest of like, this is a very real and authentic, product for me to build out at this point. But then I like the idea of being on the roster and bumping to when it's necessary. Like the roster is like, hey, I'm a member, and then like a reservist in the service. It's just like I'm here on the roster, and then when there are projects, I bump up at the contributor level and or take a turn at core, like establishing the keeping the organizational heartbeat or structural heartbeat going. And I feel like maybe in Basil's world, there's like the idea of a lamplighter or somebody that makes we used to call it making the trains run on time. It's just like, I love being in that that foundational, essential worker, kind of thing. Like I'm not front of stage. I'm not an actor, performer, but I love the tech role. I love being at the theater to open it up and turn on the lights. And I love being like essential, meaning that if my job goes down, like if people see me, then things have fucked up. That's what I like. That's what I like. So yeah, kind of hopefully that that understood.
I think that's a kind of personality statement about the organism too. Our organism is here to support those talent and people who, you know, the performers, but they
Yeah.
need all of this like safe structure around them to be able to stand on, you know, like
Yeah,
otherwise
exactly.
they're, you know, they're a typical artist mess or something. So like our ability to like revolutionize the way we work with people, lifelong relationships, and we know that over time the same individual is going to go through cycles, and we just kind of account for that.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. And Jeff, where would you see yourself?
Where do you see me?
Where do
This question is very interesting to me because it's kind of unveiling something that anyway, I have the question that it arises. A question to me is that how do you determine that? And do you determine by you making a commitment to it, and to what point you need somebody's approval? And that goes to the autonomous aspect of the autonomy aspect of this. And how do you officially formalize that you have made a commitment to? And who decides if you are accepted to be part? And everything is emergent. And I absolutely love being here. I find that I am contributing, and pretty much the reason why I came is because I felt completely resonant with what Rob has described there, and in the sense that, well, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to build. So rather than trying to create something else that competes with it, I want to align. Right? And so I would like to think that I would want to be part of the core team. But I'm unsure if I
Rob, go back
qualify
to
for
the
that.
archetypes. Put the archetypes on screen again while he's talking.
Sure.
Yeah, I could read those.
And just a quick in and out, I'm gonna have to step out for another meeting shortly here, but I second what Jeff said. I love being here, love hanging out with you guys, and happy to align. So thank you. Yeah.
Happy
Thank
to
you so
align.
much.
Yeah, that's cool. Happy to align.
To align. Thank you, Natalie. Yeah, I really appreciate it. Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you here and to have your voice and your input.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, I can see that basically as part of working with you on the roles, Rob, I am going to then make sure that I read those and pay attention and look for what is the role that I fit
Well,
best at.
don't start with the role. Look at the
I mean,
archetype.
with the archetype. Yeah, I meant.
And see,
I'm sorry, yeah.
and you right now I can see you catalyzing, connecting. You're an envisioner and explorer. You can probably facilitate and integrate. You're working with the different groups to integrate. So and all of that. Hosting, you're a good host, I think. I don't know about architecting and developing, but you have the mind. But your gift is storytelling.
Huh. I can
Because
talk, huh?
you
That doesn't mean I can talk.
the words, and that's better than me. I can visualize the words, but you can speak them.
Yeah, based on this also brings out something as part of the culture. This question that I was putting in my mind, you have provided an awesome answer for me, and that feedback ought to be part of our value proposition as part of our culture. We will give you feedback so you will understand how others see you. That is a tremendous value. And,
Yeah, so
and
it's
we
a human.
will, yeah.
Human
Yeah.
layer. So while most of the planet real soon is going to have just so much like machine recommendations on them,
Mhm.
whereas when you come into our ecosystem, we have a human
Yes,
recommendation engine.
yes, you humanize it. Yeah,
Mm,
a
yeah,
human-centered, a
beautiful.
human-centered model of capitalizing our potential. I love it.
Yeah.
And by and I so appreciate really what you have said or you have shared, uh because it brings me back and to connect it with certain things. And anyway, I'm going to watch this recording because I want to listen to that part again.
Yeah.
It's a great one.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah, I know. Thank you, Basil. I know you're like, start with the archetypes and, yeah.
And
all
as
the
a matter of
time.
fact, I would recommend that be an exercise
For everybody.
for all of us to share with everybody else. So we ought to do
Yeah.
a meeting to say, well, we see you at this, and that for everybody.
So,
That would
so
be
then
great.
it's, yeah. Because like a meeting or two ago, I decided that I felt like putting you on camera. Well, you're on camera now, but more as like a presenter for things, like a speaker on things, whereas like somebody, I saw the potential there. Like, you have this host service ability too. And so it's kind of like we each have to choose like what are our best sort of archetypes and then skill sets, and then what do we want to do or what's needed right now, and then we can kind of self-organize to like fulfill the tasks at hand at any given point in time, and we can move around a lot because the goal with this new ecosystem is the people are just talent, and then there's need and roles, and we just like pop in and pop out, fractionalized, just like all the, we're moving around and providing services in like sometimes consistent ways and sometimes really like diversified ways.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do want to, say, just to name, which Jeff brought up, like these, like this roster level, contributor level, like these three sort of delineations were not there, like when this whole thing was being birthed and conceived, it just, because I don't actually see, like these as, I mean, when you write it out, it's like, oh yeah, there are specific delineations in the, the technical, sort of where people are at. But, I really see these three as very flexible. I mean, mostly, most of the time the way I envision it is really, it's just everybody's community members, and it's just community members that are flowing from one role and one level to another, and they talk, like the folks at Heifer and Seas are talking about membranes, and they're just flowing in and out of these membranes. And so that's really how I see it and feel it. And as we know, if there's going to be a process that's going to be able to scale all of that, all of those people and flowing, then, it came about really naturally that people, when I explained that, they're like, well, where do I fit? There's also that, like, where do I fit? What are my steps? People need some sort of clarity and some expectations. So I think it's really it's a both.
Let me really like help explain how powerful this archetype stuff is. Through the entire Hive experiment, when we were just like self-organizing and creating roles, like in like this old mindset kind of, I was never like what I didn't fit in any one role. But the minute like they broke it down into the archetypes, I'm like, okay, catalyst, that's my strongest fire. So like if I can own that, I can still do other things and facilitate and build and story, I'm a storyteller. But it's like when they got it to those archetypes, I felt like, okay, I can finally work in this model because it's much softer, more flexible as I change over time, essentially.
Yeah, it also helps me with archetypes. And I did, a bunch of archetype work in my self process a few years ago. but it helps me recognize like where my fire is, like where, rather than exactly just in like, oh, the role, but taking it back one step, because archetypes are, are universal. They go beyond, just specific cultures. And so then it helps me really, on that broad level, find, oh, okay, this is my fire. This is what that means. This is what I'm doing for the whole on that level. Yeah.
Are these archetypes the same that Anna Lois has articulated for the seat's constitution?
No,
They're evolved. They're evolved. I like them even better, I think, than what we've got so far. This is like next gen.
Thanks. I just took everything that they had done, and then I did my own additional, research, and it just felt like with holistic systems, there's so many different roles. There's so much, that it needed to just expand in order to fit all of them.
Okay, so I think that another tool that for cultural development will be an assessment questionnaire that will actually accelerate and facilitate people's recognizing people's preliminary or predominant archetypes, so that then by somebody filling up a form of an application, that this assessment test should be able to designate, well, according to these answers, you are these answers indicate that you are of this primary archetype. That's something that we might not have right now, but I do think it's very important to develop.
I love it. And this is what I'm, like what's starting to really come into focus. And I'm like, is, something, you take something like that, and then, what you have is, that, because that's a quest or an assignment or a project, whatever you want to call it. And so what we do is, we sort of say, oh, okay, well, that's a great idea. We're going to just put that in as a quest, write it out. You could do that, Jeff. You say, oh, I think this is a good idea. This is going to add value, to the value to the DAO to have this. So the way I think it really works is Jeff, you could put that in. You can say, hey, I want to do this. I want to create this. I think it's going to bring value to the DAO, and and I want to receive X amount of compensation, for that. And then the DAO can vote on it, or I can say like, oh, okay, that's a great idea. Then let's create a quest and write it up. Say, hey, it's there's this amount of compensation, and then it's open, and then somebody can come in and claim that.
Yeah, now that makes me think about also using this feature as part of our services to prepare quests and reach out to find candidates who can passionately will come and claim to execute that quest, but we do it as a service for other client partners.
Yes. So one of our core services really is going to be in the holistic construct is we have our game circle, the game of seed circle that is essentially was coming out of Haifa, and that's like helping businesses get their mission and quest in order, and then we help them like sort of make the process of what they need to get done, especially nonprofits and organizations that like utilize volunteers as well as workers, like that kind of stuff, especially. But in this film production, so just the goal of this for me, the goal was to take like Upwork, but instead of it being Upwork, it was like the people, it was self-organized, the people work, and then they own the Upwork itself, rather than some centralized entity owning that output.
Yeah.
And so, and then the human centered, and then we're confusing the World of Warcraft, Dungeons and Dragons, role play games into missions, multi-part missions with milestones sometimes, quest with like multiple quest tasks in them, just like World of Warcraft did for like completing and gathering all the stuff in that universe.
Gamify it.
Now we're bringing it to the real world where the actions in the real world are actually matter. Even sometimes the actions in the virtual world, like amplifying content, matter. So
Yeah, all of that. And it's a joy to see it coming together, because I'm such a person who, whatever archetype this is, I'm such a person who's like, all right, who's doing what role is everybody, going into? Also,
I
I'm
love
seeing,
that. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. But I'm gonna ride that good vibe out. Thank you
for sure.
so much. Thank you. Super awesome notes. I took some good notes on the meeting agenda notes for today, and thank you much. I'll watch the rest of the video, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, you took some amazing notes. Thank you. That was so help. Sometimes I have a hard time actually like facilitating a meeting and then taking notes at the same time. So it's just like, but the notes are really important. So
we
thank you
need to
so
like
much.
set a budget like per hour of human note taking
Yeah.
as a quest.
Yeah.
That's one of the quest bounties for meetings. That
Yeah,
was
for sure.
yeah.
Sure.
Also, I would just let everybody take a look at this one. You might want to jump on it. The bounty it looks like $50 million for this one for some reason. So just, it's a good, while it's open.
Set us up. This could set us up.
All right.
Thank you,
All
Newman.
right. Bye, y'all. Thank you.
Yeah. And we're doing it.
And we are
That's how we're
doing
doing
it.
it.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Yeah, thank you both. So Basil, FYI, Jeff and I are meeting tomorrow, and we're going to be working on this value proposition, and also in context specifically with a grant funding application.
Okay, let's start just banging on the grants, but here's the deal. What entity is going to be receiving? Do we want to like shell everything with like Better Worlds, 501c3? How do we want to handle this?
I don't know. I suppose that's probably a problem I'd
it an
start
enough
to address
grant?
when somebody actually decides to give us money.
Is it a crypto grant or a traditional?
This one's traditional, yeah.
Okay. And what is the grant type for?
It's something called Green Change Makers. Yeah,
Copy.
there's a lot of these out there. I mean, I have a list, but I think
This is important for us. This is our foundation here. We have to nail this stuff.
Yeah. And I have what I wrote out, for one that I filled out before. But I think the idea is that Jeff and I are going to go over this, and then we're going to go over the main value proposition and get that a little more like zeroed in and maybe a little more updated, because like with these grants, at a certain point, the questions don't get like so different from each other. So if you have the information, then you can start banging them out. But we want to make sure that information, the foundational, value props are dialed in.
Yeah. No, being able to get like foundational funding for HSC, to support community growth, small business growth, whatever, anywhere, on the planet is definitely like a core ongoing, while we have the revenue. So the goal, foundation plus revenue equals sustainability.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and right
Especially
now,
diversified, when we have this amazingly woven, like diversified entity network on HIFA to just all of those entities driving value in, then we have a global shared pool to work with theoretically, or multiple.
Yeah. That's that.
All right. Thank you.
That's that big one. All right. Thank you, sir. Be in touch.
Ciao.
Ciao. All right.
See you guys. Bye.
Bye, Jeff. See you tomorrow.
Bye.
Take care.